Soyans in pajamas. Alright, you guys, today we're going to talk about ecological succession. Now, as we've been discussing, disturbances occur in ecosystems, and they can be natural disturbances or man-made disturbances. The point is, disturbances occur. And sorry, I get easily distracted by this cute little guy. He's just kind of laying here chilling. So, disturbances occur, and what we can then do is we can make predictions on how the ecosystem will repair itself, and we call that ecological succession. What ecological succession is the predictable steps that occur over time in an ecosystem after a disturbance has happened. Now, there are two types of ecological succession. There's primary succession and there's secondary succession. Now, when we talk about these, you might remember or you might know that the word primary kind of refers to first, and then secondary refers to, well, second. And what we're going to be talking about in this is how primary succession occurs where there is no soil, so there's bare rock, and it will actually create a new ecosystem. Secondary succession, on the other hand, is when an ecosystem has been damaged but not destroyed, and we look at the steps needed for it to recover, to go back to the way it was. No, stay. Okay, go on. So with primary succession, let's start there. As we said, it occurs because of there's no soil present, so it starts off on bare rock. So we have our bare rock. There is no soil. So since there's no soil, then that means that there's no plants there. Now, this can occur because new land rose out of the ocean to form an island, or because a volcano, the lava flowed over an existing ecosystem and completely covered it, and now it's solidified into rock. However, the point is, the entire ecosystem that was there is completely gone. It's not just damaged, it is destroyed, it is completely gone. Or there is no ecosystem, it's completely new land. So what happens is these little organisms called lichens will start growing. Now, lichens are what we call a pioneer species. They are the first species to move into an area. Now, when they move into an area, like I said, there's no soil there, so they can actually just attach to rock and grow there. You can also see lichens growing on trees as well. There's plenty in my neighborhood that have lichens growing on them. But what occurs is the lichens, they are living things, so they can grow, reproduce, die. Now, after many, many cycles of growing, reproducing, dying, the decomposed bits start to form the foundation of soil. So now we start getting a little bit of soil because of the decomposed remnants of many, many generations of lichen. Well, now that we have some soil, we can start growing some small plants like grasses, maybe some flowers. And over many generations of those, growing, reproducing, dying, growing, reproducing, dying, we end up getting more soil. And once we have more soil, we can have slightly bigger plants, like maybe some bushes growing and shrubs. maybe some taller grasses. And then now we're also going to have some animals coming in. Now that we have plants and producers, we can have insects coming in at this stage, and then we can have smaller animals like rodents or raccoons or things of that nature, even birds coming in at this stage. Now, many generations of this growing, reproducing, dying adds more to the soil. So now we have even more soil. And that can lead to some small trees, maybe some bigger bushes and shrubs. Now we can have some animals like deer, wolves, and foxes coming in. And then, again, many generations of those growing, reproducing, dying, all of that decomposition is going to make even more soil. And now we can have what's called a climax community. So we're going to have, big trees of different varieties. And so on and so on. Now, once we have this climax community, this established community, if it's ever damaged, then it can go through the secondary succession in order to repair it. But if it's completely destroyed, such as a volcano comes around, destroys everything, covers everything up in lava, and then the lava solidifies to bare rock again, then we can go through another round of primary succession. But let's pretend like that doesn't happen. Let's say that there's a forest fire. So we start off with our climax community. Now remember, there's already soil present. There is already soil. And the organisms, the plants and all that, have access to the soil. So we start off with our climax community. And then what happens is some kind of disturbance will damage it. So maybe a fire. It might destroy a lot of the trees and grasses, but we still have all that soil. So what's going to happen is the seeds and the soil are going to immediately start sprouting. So we have our grasses, we have some bushes growing, and we might even have some trees growing. And then over time, more grasses start growing, more shrubs, the trees grow taller, until eventually we have our climax community again. So all we had to do here was let plants regrow. Their seeds were still in the soil. Maybe even not all of the trees died. We just had to allow time for everything to regrow and fix itself. As opposed to primary succession, where we actually had to let it start from scratch. When there's no soil, we had to build the soil first from the decomposed remains of the lichens, and then the lichens and the grass, and the grass and the shrubs and the small trees, and the small trees and shrubs and the grass, and finally we get our big trees. Alright, well, I hope that helped you to understand the difference between primary and secondary succession and how ecological succession works. Alright, you guys, in the meantime, take care of yourselves, stay curious, and I will talk to you later. Alright, bye-bye, guys.